Welcome to TRN episode 109. Today we're diving into the world of football, specifically the clash between VfB Stuttgart and Werder Bremen back on April 13th, 2025. We've pulled together quite a bit of info for you, live scores from the time, coach comments, historical data, even an AI prediction.
Right.
The goal here is to give you a really comprehensive look beyond just the results and get into the dynamics of this Bundesliga matchup.
And what makes this one interesting, I think, is the setup. You had Stuttgart sitting 10th at the time, hosting Werder Bremen, who were 11th.
Right next to each other.
Exactly. And both teams, well, they showed a certain inconsistency that season, didn't they? Made the game pretty unpredictable. We should probably look at what factors might have tipped the scales.
Yeah, let's jump straight into the action itself. So the game on April 13th, it was actually 0-0 at halftime.
It was, yeah.
But interestingly, there were some pretty promising chances for both sides right in the opening minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, think about it. First minute, Demirovic had a header for Stuttgart, but Bremen's keeper, Zetterer, he held on to it.
Okay, early chance.
And then just a few minutes later, 7th minute, Burke missed a massive chance for Werder. He was clean through on Stuttgart's keeper, Nubel.
Wow.
But Nubel managed to make the save. So definitely some exciting moments, even though, no goals yet.
What really stands out there is that both teams showed attacking intent right from the whistle.
Definitely.
Suggests they were both really playing for the win.
Yeah.
And those missed chances, they can play a role later on mentally, don't you think?
For sure, yeah. Could linger.
And it's also worth noting, wasn't there an early yellow card? 6th minute, I think? Wazer for Werder Bremen kind of underlines the intensity of the match right away.
Good point. Let's look at the tactical approach then. Bremen's coach, Ole Werner, he'd highlighted his team's good phase beforehand, based on a more defensive foundation and having all his fit players available. He specifically warned about Stuttgart's attacking quality, naming Demirovic and also the ex-Bremen player, Voltmade.
Right, the homecoming narrative.
Exactly. Stuttgart, on the other hand, they went into the game with confidence from that recent 4-0 away win in Bochum. That win actually broke a streak of 6 games without a victory for them.
Werner focusing on defensive stability. That's understandable given Stuttgart's attack, isn't it?
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, Stuttgart had scored, 51 goals? That's a pretty decent tally. Only a few teams had more.
True.
But their defense, 44 goals conceded, not exactly watertight.
Fair point.
Bremen, meanwhile, statistically, 45 scored, 53 conceded. Less impressive overall, maybe.
Yeah.
But their away form was a key factor, possibly. They were 5th in the away table.
Oh, interesting. So they traveled well that season.
Seems like it. Could have been a big factor in their thinking for this game.
It's also interesting to look at the historical record between them. Out of 116 official matches before this one, both Stuttgart and Bremen had won exactly 40 each.
Wow, that's incredibly balanced.
Isn't it? And 35 draws. The reverse fixture earlier that season also ended 2-2.
Okay, so tight games are the norm.
Pretty much. Though the recent home record slightly favored Stuttgart. They'd won 4 of the last 5 home games against Bremen before this one.
That balanced overall record, coupled with Stuttgart's more recent home strength, it really points towards these traditionally being close contests, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the fact that the reverse fixture was a draw and this game was scoreless at the half, it just reinforces that idea. It shows they're pretty evenly matched, and small things probably make the difference.
Tiny margins.
Exactly. Maybe that unpredictability is what makes the fixture compelling.
Absolutely. So, finally, let's touch on the predictions. The bookmakers, they had Stuttgart as slight favorites beforehand.
Okay, the home team edge, maybe?
Probably. But an AI-based forecast actually suggested Bremen would likely remain unbeaten.
Oh, really?
Different take.
Yeah, and it also expected a relatively high-scoring game. 2 goals for Stuttgart, 1 for Bremen was the prediction, I think. Interesting. So the AI saw goals, despite the 0-0 start.
Well, the high number of games both teams had played that season with over 2.5 goals did support that expectation of a potentially goal-rich second half, even if the first was goalless.
That discrepancy between the traditional bookies and the AI is quite interesting, isn't it?
It is.
While the bookmakers lean towards a Stuttgart home win, the AI saw a Bremen loss as unlikely and even expected more goals overall. Makes you wonder what data the AI was weighting more heavily.
Good question. Maybe Bremen's away strength or Stuttgart's recent fluctuations.
Could be. Perhaps it analyzed those factors more deeply than the traditional odds compilers did at the time.
And the head-to-head stats we mentioned earlier, they also back up this idea of tension. In the 46 Bundesliga games between them up to that point, it was 16 wins each, 14 draws.
Still incredibly close.
Yeah. And the average goals per game in those direct clashes was over 3. So historically, goals were expected.
Right.
And the season itself seemed to fit that trend too. Stuttgart averaged over 2.5 goals per game at home, and Bremen's away games saw over 2.5 goals more than 70% of the time.
So all signs pointed towards goals, even if that first half didn't deliver them immediately.
Exactly. Now, if we link that back to what the coaches were saying.
Right. Werner for Bremen highlighting Stuttgart's attack, especially Demirovic and Voltemade, but also talking up his own team's form and having a full squad available. And then Sebastian Hoeneß for Stuttgart riding that wave of confidence from the Bochum win, even if their home form before that hadn't been perfect.
So it sounds like both coaches respected the opponent but felt pretty optimistic going in.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Let's just quickly revisit some of those missed first-half chances, because they might give clues about how the game felt. We mentioned Demirovic's header in the first minute, denied by Zetter.
Yep.
And Burke's huge miss for Bremen in the 7th, saved by Nubel.
The one-on-one, yeah.
Then, around the 13th minute, Voltemade had another decent chance for Stuttgart after Demirovic set him up. But it was deflected for a corner by Pieper, I think.
Okay, so Stuttgart kept probing.
They did. And on the other side, Lennon had a headed chance for Bremen from a corner in the 11th minute, but didn't connect well.
So these chances, these clear-cut opportunities, they show that the intent and the ability to score were definitely there on both sides.
No doubt.
The fact it was still 0-0 at halftime could be down to poor finishing, or maybe just strong goalkeeping in those moments.
Could be a bit of both.
But it definitely underlines that the game wasn't lacking highlights, even without goals. And that early Weiser yellow card points to a physically intense battle right from the start.
Yeah, definitely set a tone. What about the starting lineups? Anything revealing there?
Well, Bremen apparently went with the same formation for the third game in a row. That suggests they felt they'd found some stability.
Consistency, yeah.
Stuttgart also put out a strong team, including Voltemade, the ex-Bremen player Werner had specifically mentioned.
So both coaches backing their key players.
Seems like it. The fact Werner again left out players like Issa Cabaret and Skelly Alvaro might have been tactical, or maybe just reflected the form of others.
Right.
But that continuity in Bremen's lineup could signal Werner felt he'd found the right balance and was trusting a settled group.
Okay, so this goalless draw at halftime between VfB Stuttgart and Werder Bremen on match day 29. It obviously leaves the big question hanging, doesn't it? How did the second half unfold and who eventually took the points? The setup was certainly intriguing, with chances at both ends and that incredibly balanced history.
Absolutely. What this first half showed us is that both teams were definitely capable of creating scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
So the key things to watch for in the second half would have been efficiency in front of goal and perhaps any tactical adjustments made at the break.
Yeah.
It really leaves it open for listeners to, follow up on the final result and draw their own conclusions from the insights we've discussed. Perhaps even dig into the detailed stats and lineups again for a deeper understanding.
Yeah, definitely worth looking up the final score if you don't know it.
And a final thought to ponder from just those first 45 minutes is, how much did that early intensity, the yellow card, and those big missed chances actually influence the rest of the match? Did it lead to more nerves? Or maybe that feeling of chasing a missed opportunity? Something to think about?